Just any update?
You're always the first. Nobody, they're all scared of you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mormon and Nichols, just where are we kind of with those guys at this point?
Saw Dr. Luber, our team orthopedic, this morning, all doing much better, all on anti-inflammatories, doing rehab. I would be surprised if they all weren't ready to go this weekend.
Now that it's no longer speculation, you guys are hosting. What does that mean to have postseason baseball back here?
It's kind of heard what the other guy said, and it's right on the wall outside. It's one of our goals. It's not just to make it to a regional, but to host it, to be one of the final 16. When the season ends, it's a great reward, for the players. It's a great reward for the our great fans, and it's special, to play at home in postseason. So it's good to be back here, and I know the guys are excited to continue at Swayze.
The chairman said that you guys were one of the teams that got strong consideration for like that 8th spot. Did you kind of end up where you sort of thought you'd end up this morning? We thought probably, or at least I thought probably like a lot of people, that if we won the championship, it was a great few weeks finish and beat a lot of teams that were going to be a national seed, and so we knew we were probably on the bubble for that. You just don't know. You don't know until you hear your name on Sunday night, and so it's kind of the mantra, as you've heard us say, is be where your feet are. Let's just take care of business, and so you try to not get too far ahead of yourself. And again, it's those are one of the things that's out of our control. But certainly thought we'd be in the running. But at the end of the day, you got to win games, and so you got to win games this weekend. You got to win games. If you do that, you get to try to win some more games next weekend, regardless of where it is.
Looks like the SEC teams are going about half and half on playing early versus late. Have you ever given a ton of consideration for flipping to the early game?
Not much, and I don't know where all of a sudden that happened, but it's been a while now. I always felt that's a disappointing thing for your fans, to play, and usually it's really hot here, like a lot of our counterparts, and I don't know if I necessarily want to be playing at 1 or 2 o'clock if I don't have to. We're used to playing on Friday night. Our fans are used to being here on Friday night, and that's kind of the reward. And so I think when you do that, I get it, that if you lose, you got to turn around and play again, but you're supposed to win, so I think the pluses outweigh the minuses. We've always thought it's the right thing to do for our team and for the fans, and to have that atmosphere Friday night in Swayze Field.
You mentioned, I think you said yesterday, even that older teams have success, and y'all are an older team, and that was kind of the goal, in roster building. What is it about this group of older guys that has just kind of meshed so well throughout the season?
Well, some of the guys you spoke to, obviously here with Riley and Will and Luke, but throughout the team, you start to. We thought it was a big, whatever you want to call it, coup, or a get. When we knew we were going to get Elliott, Maddox, and Nichols back, 3 guys that played on the national championship team that probably at this time last year didn't think we'd get them back, along with Connor Spencer. And so when you get 3 weekend starters back, and a closer, and guys that have all had success in this league, I think that's a great start. But then when you go into the portal, and we did go old. We wanted to get some older guys from Power 5 schools that have had success at this level. And when you look up and you see Mormon and Humphrey and Sanford, Foley. We thought that was a great mix, and you never know. You're right until you put them all in one locker room. But culture's usually never been our problem, and the guys have really bought into it, and obviously, have played really well.
It was just a Tuesday, but what do you remember about Murray? They seemed like they could swing it, best I recall.
Yeah, and I had to look up. I knew we played them, but it was like, but it was a long time ago. I think it was March 5th, so it was a couple months ago, and it was an extra inning game. So don't remember, but what you do look, and I'm sure you're going to see all the interviews news today of the people talking about the regional, but pretty difficult, one right off the bat, number 4 seed that, won 38 games. And, all these teams statistically do everything well. You try to go, hey, what's going to be, the Achilles, and they've all had great years. And so I don't know if there's a 4 seed that has that many wins. I'm sure there's not a 3 seed that has as many wins as Western Kentucky with 46. I don't know how many teams in the country have 46 wins, let alone a 3 seed. And then, of course, the ACC champ. So it's quite a field, coming to Oxford.
Coach, I believe it's your 11th time hosting a regional year. Is this?
Not sure, but I'm gonna take your word for it.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, is this one any more special than any of the other ones that you've gotten to host, or how is this one different than as far as just teams go? This one?
Yeah, I'm always really careful of those types of questions. I don't know. I've always felt, I've done this a long time, so I've always felt that every team's different. You're at the same place for 25 years, and people say, well, how's that feel? But when you're dealing with 18 and 22-year-old kids, and there's a lot of turnover. Every team feels different, and even when you return a lot of players, it feels different because kids change a lot from the time they're 18 years old and freshmen. I mean, Hunter Elliott's a lot different right now. Riley Maddox is a lot different than he was 4 years ago. I'm not sure Mason Nichols is much different, but they change a lot as they grow up. So this is. I'm proud of the guys. I'm proud, that we had this kind of year, really consistent year, and we finished well, and felt they were deserving of this, and so I'm excited for their opportunity.
Do you feel like the SEC got the credit that it had earned throughout the year, just from the?
Yeah, I think so.
Kentucky not even being one of the last 4.
Yeah, and didn't know how that was going to go when you heard the. And I'll be honest with you, when you heard the 8 host sites, I got worried, for them, because sometimes. It feels like, man, if you're going to get 8, does that eliminate somebody else, as an at-large bid? But, they're certainly deserving, an RPI in the 30s and the number 1 conference in the country, and got some big weekend wins. And so, and we, at the beginning of the year, nobody knew how this was all going to fall out, right? With 16 teams, what does that look like? And I've always said that you can't look for the conference. I think so much is put on of how many teams came from this league. Even on its selection show, they want to keep putting that up there, and I think that drives the wrong message. Are the teams worthy? And so you need to kind of like look at the naked resume and not worry. Just look at the numbers and start to decide, are these the best teams? Or are these the teams that host? I think so much we get caught up into, do they deserve 8 hosts? Well, maybe they do some years, and some years maybe they only deserve 4. Right, and I think you got to be careful that you start to pigeonhole yourself. That, hey, they've only had 8 before. To me, the baseball selection should be, like it is in basketball, like it is in softball, where you just take the best teams, the most deserving teams. And I know it's really difficult. There's teams that don't get in. We've been the team that didn't get in, and there's tough decisions at the end. But at the end of the day, they work really hard at it, and I think certainly Kentucky was deserving. I think certainly at least 8, and I'm sure Alabama felt like they should have gotten a host, and certainly when you look at their resume, I don't doubt that either. But I thought they did a great job.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.